Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Serena, and in today's video I'll be showing you how I make my fabric covered buckles to match my dresses and outfits. So if you're interested in learning how I achieve a fabric covered buckle without a fancy kit or vintage kit, stay tuned. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. So let's talk about the type of buckle that's good for this project. You want something with a very flat surface, no grooves, no indentations, nothing fancy molded into the metal. You want it as flat as possible on the top, and on the back it can have a groove or an indent, but the front is where we really want it to be very smooth, but the back can be smooth as well. That doesn't matter. Next, let's talk about adhesive. I am using Mod Podge today. I actually used the gloss kind, but I really don't like that for this project. I prefer you use the matte if you had to use it. I am a big fan of using what you have available in your sewing room, so this is what I did. But if I had the choice and I didn't run out, I like spray adhesive instead. And with spray adhesive, I would use a little bit of painter's tape to cover the, I don't know what this is called, the tongue, I don't know, but to cover this, the center bar as well as this part of the buckle. Then I would spray the buckle front and back, and then I would put the fabric on top. But I don't have that today, so I'll use the Mod Podge. Another thing you can use is a hot glue gun. The only difference between the hot glue gun and the glue methods is I would not glue directly on the top because the hot glue will leave a very lumpy finish. Instead, I would just glue the back and then fold the fabric over instead, so that way you don't have a very lumpy and bumpy top where the glue is, because you want it to be flat and smooth as possible, as though you bought it that way. So now let's make a buckle. Right now I'm unpackaging a 1.5 inch buckle, and it is in a brass finish since I'm working with this darker fabric. It doesn't really matter the finish. I guess it helps, but like I said, I use what I have on hand. So this is what I had, and this is what I'm going to use. I went ahead and traced with a regular pen the shape, leaving enough seam allowance for everything to fold over. And you want to mark the notches for the center because you're really going to have to cut that out after you do your cutting, and make sure you leave enough. I don't have the exact measurements, but you can always cut it down smaller. You don't want to have to keep making new ones every time. So I tend to get a little bit bigger so that way I can always cut and adjust it later. So after that, you cut out the center, and then you want to do tiny slits in the diagonals of the buckle cover. You want to cut slits in each of the diagonals so that way it can cut around a curve. Like, you know, you have to cut curves. So you're going to do the same thing here, cut small slits. And you want to do smaller rather than larger, because if you cut it too big, then you're going to have to start over, but you can always cut a little bit later. After that, I'm just making sure that everything folds smoothly so I know whether or not I have to cut more off. And I'm showing you that as well. Also making some more adjustments because I did go bigger for the filming of this. Usually I go a little bit tighter, but I didn't want to have to do this multiple times, so I went larger than I usually do. Now it's time to start gluing. I use a popsicle stick for this just because it's easier than using a paintbrush and then having to wash the glue out of the brush, which I usually or used to use a paintbrush. Also, do not use as much glue as I did this go around. I don't know why I was doing the most this time, because usually I don't use as much glue, but yeah, you do not want the glue to seep through the fabric. Especially dark fabric. I have covered a light colored belt buckle where I put a thick amount of Mod Podge on the buckle, and then I went back and added more Mod Podge to the actual fabric to make sure it was nice and sealed. But you can't really get away with that with dark fabric, otherwise it stains the fabric and makes it darker, which means it won't match the buckle itself or the fabric of the dress or garment that you make. So now I'm filling the wells with glue, and I'm sticking the fabric into the crease. You don't have to be liberal or modest with the amount of glue that you use for this, because this is on the back side and no one will see. Also, you can use hot glue for that, which I did a little bit of both. Now I'm sealing, now that everything's all tucked in, I'm sealing it with another layer of glue. And the reason I'm doing this is just to make sure that any edge that might fray is sealed. And now you let it dry and your buckle is completed. Another way to cover a buckle, which I don't do, is to sew the back up with small tiny whip stitches. I prefer the adhesive method, but the other way should work fine too. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I hope you find this tutorial helpful. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Thesewrena_, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.